Hey everyone, welcome. Let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're attempting something pretty ambitious. We are going to map out the vast, sweeping philosophy of science. But we aren't doing it for traditional scientists, we're actually doing it with a lens focused squarely on future English language educators. So whether you're already teaching, studying to become a teacher, or honestly just deeply fascinated by how human knowledge is structured, you are absolutely in the right place.
But before we really start charting our course today, I want you to consider this. Where exactly does language belong in the universe of science? It's kind of this fascinating thought experiment to kick things off. If human knowledge is this massive, sprawling, almost infinite universe of information, well, which galaxy does your English classroom actually sit in? Think about it. When you're teaching vocabulary or dissecting grammar, what branch of human discovery are you actually pulling from? It's a much bigger question than you might think.
To figure that out, here's our map for today's journey. 1. The big map of knowledge. 2. The three main branches. 3. The unique position of linguistics. 4. Cross-disciplinary collaboration. And 5. Modern language education.
All right, let's get into section 1, the big map of knowledge.
Imagine all of human knowledge as this giant, completely untamed territory. It's constantly expanding, it is incredibly dense, and it desperately needs a systematic map if we're ever going to navigate it without getting completely lost. The philosopher Sirius Humantri actually noted back in 2010 that the vast expansion of science requires grouping or classification just so it can be understood systematically. Think about that for a second. We don't categorize things just to trap them in boring academic boxes. We do it because human understanding intrinsically requires order. Without some way to classify what we know, we basically just have pure chaos. We wouldn't know how to build on past discoveries, and we definitely wouldn't know where to look for new answers.
Moving right along to section 2, the three main branches.
To actually build out our map, we have to look at the three major continents of human knowledge. And we're basing this on Bakhtiar's 2013 definitions. First up, we've got the natural sciences. These deal entirely with physical, measurable phenomena governed by universal laws. So think of physics and biology. But when applied to language, this actually becomes neurolinguistics, tracking the literal, physical, electrical impulses firing in the brain when we speak. Then there are the social sciences, which focus on human behavior and complex interactions within a society. For language professionals, this manifests as sociolinguistics, like how language shifts based on class, gender, or region. And finally, we reach the humanities. This continent focuses on values, meaning, aesthetics, and human expression, things like the really intricate rules of syntax or the emotional, cultural weight of Shakespearean literature. So that's three distinct continents and three very different ways of understanding the world.
Which brings us to section 3, the unique position of linguistics.
So where exactly do we drop a pin on the map for our specific field of linguistics? Traditionally, it sits firmly in the humanities. When you analyze the syntax of a sentence or explore the subtle nuances of semantics or decode classic literature, you're focusing really heavily on values and human expression. But wait a minute, fields like sociolinguistics study how dialects change in communities, and psycholinguistics looks at how bilingual children acquire a second language. Those are observing measurable human interaction and cognition. Honestly, that sounds like it sits firmly in the social sciences. It's kind of a bit of an academic identity crisis.
Well, this reveals something absolutely crucial. Linguistics is an incredibly flexible discipline. It comfortably spans both the humanities and the social sciences. Researchers like Chomsky and Schotter have actually noted that our field acts almost like this bustling border town between two massive academic continents. And it's really quite amazing when you think about it. We are the unique bridge between pure, abstract human expression and measurable, observable social behavior. Very few fields of study get to straddle the line between the art of meaning and the science of human interaction, quite like language does.
Okay, on to section 4, cross-disciplinary collaboration. Existing right on a border means you constantly have to interact with your neighbors. Modern educational problems are just way too complex to be solved by one isolated branch of science anymore. Enter the multidisciplinary approach. This is basically when we study a topic through multiple disciplines separately without deep integration. Imagine you want to build a revolutionary new English learning app. You hire a linguist, an educational psychologist, and an IT expert. They all go off into separate rooms, do their own separate research, and at the very end, they literally just staple their independent reports together. That is a purely multidisciplinary effort. It gets the job done, sure, but the puzzle pieces don't perfectly interlock.
Now compare that to an interdisciplinary approach. This means integrating concepts and methods from various disciplines into one cohesive framework right from the very beginning. In this much better scenario, your linguist, your psychologist, and your IT expert don't isolate themselves at all. They sit at the exact same table on day one. They collaborate to create a single, unified research design, blending their unique expertise to solve the problem together. So the linguist tells the IT expert what language structures need reinforcing, while the psychologist advises both of them on how to keep a user motivated. The result is seamlessly integrated.
And finally, we have the ultimate level of teamwork, transdisciplinary. This takes things a massive step further by transcending disciplinary boundaries entirely to create a newly unified framework. This approach melds fields so completely that a brand new one is actually born. Think about it. Education, linguistics, and computer science merged so perfectly over the years that language learning technology became its own distinct university major. It's no longer just a collaboration where experts shake hands. It is a completely new discipline on the map of human knowledge. And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, Modern Language Education. Let's zoom all the way down from that macro-level 30,000-foot philosophy of science we've been discussing right into the micro-level reality of a modern classroom. Here is the ultimate takeaway for you. English language education is fundamentally an interdisciplinary profession. If you are going to be an English educator, you need to realize that teaching English is not just about knowing the English language. It is inherently a complex profession requiring a highly diverse set of skills borrowed from all across our map of knowledge.
Practically speaking, based on the work of Richards and Rogers in 2014, this creates what we can call the modern English teacher's toolkit. You need linguistics to deeply understand the structural mechanics of the language you're sharing. You need pedagogy, the actual science of education, for your teaching methods and your classroom management. You absolutely need psychology to understand your learners' cognition, their personal motivations, and even their anxieties. And increasingly today, you need technology for assistive digital tools. Think about designing a lesson for a student with special needs. You simply cannot succeed by only knowing English grammar rules. You have to actively mix language structure, adaptive pedagogy, an empathetic understanding of their unique psychological profile, and maybe even assistive tech, all at the exact same time. You are constantly pulling from the humanities, the social sciences, and the natural sciences literally just to get through a single Tuesday afternoon.
Which leaves us with one critical final question. Why isn't mastering English enough for an English teacher? I really want to leave you with that thought to reflect on today. As future educators, your career requires a multifaceted, cross-disciplinary mindset. You aren't just teaching vocabulary words. You're navigating the entire map of human knowledge to help another human being learn, grow, and communicate. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. And hey, keep exploring that map.